I've lived in a rural part of Eastern Europe my entire life, in a place where the forest feels like it's always watching you, even when nothing is supposed to be out there. Around here, seeing animals is normal. Wild boars, deer, foxes, even wolves every once in a while. Nothing surprises you after a few years. At least, that's what I thought. What happened last full moon completely changed the way I see the darkness in this place. It started as a completely normal, boring night. My friend and I were messaging each other, complaining that we had nothing to do, and eventually decided to meet up and take a walk. We do that sometimes, just walk through the fields and empty roads around the villages. The next town from mine is only about 2 kilometers away, and there's an old train station there where we sometimes hang out. So around 11 p.m., we met at the edge of my village and started walking. The moon was bright enough that we barely needed our phones for light. The whole area was glowing a kind of pale silver, the way it only does during a full moon. It was quiet too, that weird kind of calm where even the wind feels like it's holding its breath. We joked around, talked about random stuff, and before we knew it, we were already walking up onto the old station platform. The place is abandoned, but not destroyed, just forgotten. We've been there dozens of times at night. Nothing scary ever happened. We sat there for maybe 5 minutes just talking and then decided to head back because it was getting late. We started walking along the railway tracks, the metal glinting under the moonlight. The air was cold enough to sting a little. Everything was normal. And then, we heard it, a voice behind us, not loud, not aggressive, just casual. "Hey you there on the platform." We both froze mid-step. The voice didn't sound familiar. It also didn't sound like it came from the road or the woods. It came from the tracks. We turned around instantly, expecting to see someone standing there, maybe some drunk guy, maybe teenagers messing around. There was no one. The platform was empty. The tracks were empty. The entire area behind us was just the same open, moonlit space as before. My friend whispered, "Probably kids hiding somewhere." And honestly, that made sense. It wouldn't be the first time. So we started walking again. After maybe 10 seconds, we heard it again. But this time it wasn't a voice, it was a laugh. A quick, sharp laugh, coming from the tracks behind us. Close, too close, around 20 meters away. We turned around again, and that's when I saw it. The most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. Something was kneeling beside the tracks, not standing, kneeling. Its entire posture looked wrong, like it was trying to mimic how a human crouches but didn't quite understand how knees are supposed to work. His body was shaped vaguely like a dog, but the legs were wrong. They looked human. Hairy, muscular human legs ending in long, twisted feet. And its head looked like a vulture's. Long face, hooked beak, but with patches of fur that didn't look like they belonged there. Its eyes were just black, completely black, reflecting the moon like 2 pieces of glass. It wasn't moving. It wasn't making noise. It was just staring at us. I felt something cold spread through my entire body, like my blood had turned to ice. Every part of me was telling me to step back, to run, to scream, but I couldn't move. My friend couldn't either. We were both frozen. After a few seconds that felt like hours, the creature's jaw opened, way wider than it should have. And in the exact same voice we had heard before, it said, "Hey you, come here." Its lips didn't match the words. The voice wasn't coming from its throat. It sounded like someone else, someone far away, speaking through it. That snapped something inside both of us. We didn't even look at each other. We just turned around and ran. I mean full speed sprinting, not caring about the stones, the uneven ground, or the branches hitting us as we left the tracks. I remember the sound of my friends breathing right behind me. I remember the thumping of my footsteps. And I remember one thing so clearly, the moment I realized that we didn't hear it chasing us. There were no footsteps behind us, no breathing, no sound at all, just the wind moving through the grass. We didn't stop running until we reached the first street light in my village. The second we stepped into the pool of light, we turned around, terrified it would be right behind us. But nothing was there, just an empty road and the pale moonlight. We stood there for what felt like a full minute, catching our breath, listening for anything. When we finally calmed down enough to talk, we didn't even try to explain it. We just walked home separately, checking over our shoulders every 10 seconds. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I tried convincing myself it was some deformed animal. Maybe a stray dog with mange or a trick of the moonlight, anything that made sense. But that voice wasn't an animal. That laugh wasn't an animal. And nothing moves its mouth like that and speaks perfectly clear words. I've lived here for 16 years. I've seen everything this area has to offer. Wolves don't scare me. Boars don't scare me. but whatever that thing was, it wasn't something from around here. And since that night, I haven't left my house after dark, not once, because sometimes when the full moon is out, I swear I can still hear that voice echoing in my head. Hey you, come here. Before I even get into the story itself, I want you to understand something. None of what I'm about to tell you is made up. This isn't a creepypasta. This isn't something I heard from a friend of a friend. These were real events, things I experienced with my own eyes. And to give you some context about who I am, I'm from Europe, the Netherlands. And if you know anything about Dutch people, we're not exactly easy to convince when it comes to supernatural creatures. Werewolves, ghosts, monsters, most of us just shrug that stuff off. I always did too. I spend a lot of time in nature. I love photographing, drawing, and writing. The woods near my home are like a second backyard to me. And that's why what happened that night still sits with me, even months later. It was early January of this year. The first snow had just fallen, covering everything in a clean, white sheet that lasts only a day or two. The forest looked incredible, like something out of a postcard, perfect for taking photos. I grabbed my mountain bike and rode out to the woods. The sun was already pretty low, and here in the Netherlands, you're not allowed in the woods after sunset or before dawn. No camping either. The forest is strictly for recreation. Last year, it actually celebrated its 500th anniversary, which still blows my mind. So, I knew I had maybe half an hour before I needed to get out. I chained my bike to a tree and went deeper in, taking picture after picture. Everything was so quiet. Snow has this way of absorbing sound, so every step felt soft and distant. It was peaceful, the kind of calm that almost makes you forget how quickly daylight disappears in winter. And then, without me really noticing, the light was gone. The sun had set. The forest suddenly felt different. Older, darker, almost like it was waking up. I started heading back, walking faster now. That's when I began noticing movement around me. Nothing weird at first. I saw deer stepping carefully through the trees, and then a fox crossing the path in front of me. Animals in winter behave differently, but they didn't seem scared, more like alert. Then I saw something else. Something was standing between the trees about 30 meters away. At first I didn't panic. I honestly thought it was just a large dog or maybe even a wolf, though wolves aren't ordinary here. But when I looked again, when my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I realized this wasn't a wolf, and it definitely wasn't a dog. It was tall, taller than any animal in these woods should be, big, dark, and strange. The head was unmistakably wolf-like, with bright yellow eyes that seemed to glow even in the dark. Two long white fangs stuck out from under its upper lip, sharp enough to see from where I stood. But the body didn't match the head at all. It had the torso and arms of a human, broad chest, long arms, defined shoulders. But its legs, those were the legs of a wolf. And behind it, a long tail moved slowly like it were balancing itself. It looked like something caught between being human and being animal, like it didn't belong in this world. I froze. The creature wasn't looking at me yet. Its head was turned slightly away as if it were listening for something. The forest was silent, painfully silent, and I could hear my own breathing loud in my ears. Part of me wanted to run, but another part of me, the part that came here to take photos, told me to get my camera ready. So I lifted it, slowly, and right when I did, the creature's ears twitched. Then, it turned its head toward me. Those yellow eyes locked onto mine, and when I say locked, I mean it felt like it was staring straight into me, through me, like it was trying to understand what I was. My entire body went numb. I couldn't move. I could barely breathe. It didn't look angry, just curious. It was studying me the way I had been studying the forest. Then, it started walking toward me. One slow step, then another. Not aggressive, not threatening. Just this strange, cautious curiosity. I stood there, rooted in place, every muscle tense. 10 feet away, closer. Its breathing was heavy but calm. It sniffed the air a few times as if trying to figure out my scent. For a moment I thought, genuinely thought, that maybe it wasn't dangerous. Maybe it was just as confused as I was. But that hope didn't last long. Without warning, it suddenly jumped back. Not far, just a quick, sharp movement like something had startled it. It let out a short, low growl. Not angry, not threatening, but almost like a warning or confusion. Before I could even react, it turned around and bolted into the dark part of the woods, disappearing so fast I almost questioned whether it had even been there. That's when my legs finally worked again. I ran. I didn't look back. I reached my bike, fumbled with the lock for way too long because my hands were shaking badly, and then got out of that forest as fast as I could. At home, I checked the photo I managed to take. It was blurry. I didn't exactly have time to steady the camera, but the silhouette was unmistakable. I didn't show anyone, not because I didn't want to, but because I knew no one around here would believe me, especially not the Dutch. I still go back into that forest. I refuse to let fear keep me away from the place I love. But I've never seen the creature again. Sometimes, though, when the snow falls the same way it did that evening, when the woods go quiet, I catch myself looking over my shoulder, just to make sure those yellow eyes aren't watching me again. The original accident took place in 1891. A passenger train, Richmond and Danville engine number 9, left Statesville at around 2:30 in the morning. It was supposed to be heading toward Asheville, climbing deep into the mountains. The engineer, William West, was late leaving the station, 34 minutes behind schedule. Witnesses said he took off faster than usual, probably trying to make up time. Less than 5 minutes later, the train was gone. It derailed while crossing Boston Bridge, a 70-foot tall brick tower bridge over Third Creek. The speed was later estimated at 40 to 45 miles per hour, too fast for the curve leading onto the bridge. Survivors said the train practically lifted off the tracks before it flew into the darkness. 24 people died. Their bodies were brought back to Statesville and laid out in a tobacco warehouse because the town didn't even have a hospital back then. People flocked to the site for days afterward, thousands of them, walking across the same bridge the train had fallen from, some even digging through the wreckage for souvenirs. Photographers sold pictures by the hundreds. The whole thing became a kind of grim attraction. And then there were the rumors that someone had pulled the spikes from the rails, that the bridge had been sabotaged. A coroner's inquest claimed exactly that, though others argued it was simply poor maintenance. The railroad was facing bankruptcy at the time, so the idea of sabotage was convenient. 2 men were eventually convicted years later, but no one really knows if they were ever involved. And that's where the story should have ended, but it didn't. 50 years after the wreck, the same day, the same time, a woman saw the entire crash happen again. She and her husband were driving near the bridge when their car got a flat tire. He went to get help, leaving her alone beside the tracks. Around 2:40 in the morning, she heard a train whistle echo through the trees. She saw the headlight approaching. It looked like an old-fashioned steam engine, not the modern ones that ran the line in the 40s. The train crossed the bridge, and she watched it derail. She watched it fall. Wooden cars splintering, metal twisting, steam hissing. She heard the passengers' screams. All of it, as if history was replaying itself right in front of her. She ran toward the wreckage. When she got close, she saw the locomotive lying in the creek, water rushing around the broken cars. It was all so vivid that she didn't question any of it. But when she brought her husband and another man back, the creek was empty. No wreck, no train, just silence. When she later asked the station agent in town if there had been an accident, he looked up and said, "No wreck last night, but 50 years ago today." She fainted before he could finish. From that point on, people said the wreck repeats itself every year on the anniversary at the exact moment it happened. And here's where my part comes in. I wasn't a believer in ghost stories, not really, but I'm someone who loves history, especially local history. And for years I'd heard the rumors, voices on the bridge, the sound of a whistle that doesn't belong to any modern train, shadows moving where there shouldn't be any, and of course, the ghost train. So one year I decided to go. Not as a thrill seeker, not as part of a group, just alone to see if there was anything to the stories. It was August 27th, just after 2 in the morning. The woods around Boston Bridge were quiet, the kind of quiet that feels too thick, like the air itself is holding its breath. Every sound, a leaf crunching, a cricket chirping, felt sharper. I walked along the dirt path beside the tracks until the bridge came into view, a vast, dark shape rising above the creek. 70 feet doesn't sound like much, but at night, standing right next to it, feels endless. I stayed off the bridge just near the edge, listening. At first there was nothing. Then, somewhere in the distance, I heard it, a faint whistle, long, lonely, echoing through the trees. I thought at first that it had to be a real train, but the schedule didn't match, and the sound, it wasn't a modern whistle. It sounded older, deeper, like the ones from old steam locomotives you hear in documentaries. The track under my feet started to hum, just slightly, like something heavy was moving toward me. Then a light appeared far down the tracks, cutting through the darkness. It bobbed slightly, The way old steam engines sometimes did, not the smooth, steady beam of newer engines. I felt my chest tighten. My first thought was that it had to be real. My second thought was that it shouldn't be here. The whistle grew louder. The hum grew stronger. And then, all at once, everything stopped. The light vanished. The sound cut off mid-note. 1 second it was coming right at me, and the next, the night went completely silent. Not quite silent, like the world had been muted. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually I backed away, my heart pounding harder than I want to admit. I left without looking back. And here's the part that stays with me the most. I wasn't the only one who went out there that night, and I wasn't the only one who heard something. But some people didn't walk away. In 2010, a group of 12 ghost hunters went to the same bridge at the same time, hoping to catch the ghost train. When a rail train approached at 2:45, they didn't move. They thought it was the Phantom. They realized too late that it wasn't. One man died. 2 others were injured. The engineer tried to stop the train, but there was nothing he could do. They had been standing on the bridge. It's the only ghost story I know where the dead outnumber the living. And ever since that night, I haven't gone back to Boston Bridge. Not on August 27th. Not at 2 in the morning. Not ever. Some places, some tragedies, don't stay in the past. I'm a 21-year-old woman from Manchester, and I take the late train home pretty often after gigs with my friends. It's usually fine, quiet, empty, almost relaxing after a loud night out. But a few months ago, something happened on that train that I still can't fully wrap my head around. That night, the gig ended around midnight, same as always. A couple of my mates offered to walk me to the station, but it was literally across the road, and they could see the platform from the beer garden anyway. I texted them back and forth until my train pulled in, waved goodbye, and hopped on like normal. The carriage was empty, completely empty. Honestly, I didn't mind. I actually thought, perfect, no loud groups, no weirdos, just me, music, and a half-hour ride home. I grabbed a seat by the window, put my bag beside me, and started scrolling through photos from the night. Everything felt normal, quiet, peaceful. At the next stop, the doors opened and just one guy got on. He had his hood pulled so far over his face that I could barely see anything except the end of his nose. He had no bag, just hands jammed deep into his pockets. His coat was zipped and buttoned all the way up. Strange considering we were indoors and the train was heated, but I didn't think much of it at first. He didn't sit, he just stood there, completely still. I figured he'd be getting off in a stop or two. People do that sometimes. So I went back to my phone. When the train started moving again, I heard slow, stiff steps behind me. He walked past several empty seats, looked at them, and kept going. Eventually, he dropped into a seat parallel to mine, facing the same direction by the window. I glanced up for a second and instantly got a weird feeling. Something about his posture, his stillness, the way his hood swallowed his face. So I turned my music down but kept my headphones in, just in case. I tried to ignore him, but he started sliding one seat closer, then another. Slowly, uncomfortably slowly. It wasn't until I smelled him that my whole body froze. It was this overpowering stench, ammonia, urine, feces, and something rotten underneath all of it. It hit me so hard that my eyes watered. I glanced sideways and saw him turn slightly. His breathing sounded wet, wheezy, almost excited. I texted my boyfriend to distract myself. A weird guy sat right next to me in an empty carriage. Before I could even hit send, I felt a brush against my knee. I looked up, and he was sitting directly opposite me now, slouched so low his knees were touching mine. He still had his hood up, but now he'd added sunglasses. At midnight, in a dark train, he just stared, not blinking, not moving, just staring directly into my face like he was studying me. I gave this awkward little, oops, sorry, smile. You know when you accidentally lock eyes with someone? But he didn't react. His expression didn't move an inch. I texted my boyfriend again. He's staring. I mean really staring. I'm gonna move. I shoved my phone into my bag, stood up, and that's when everything fell apart. He moved faster than I thought was physically possible. His hand shot out and clamped around my arm, fingers digging in so hard it felt like he was trying to pull me into him. His face was suddenly inches from mine, and for the first time I could see all of it. His skin was this sickly yellow color, like he hadn't been in sunlight for years. His beard was patchy and filthy, and his teeth, they weren't just yellow from smoking, they were brown, like he'd been chewing dirt. His breath smelled like something dead. He smiled, this crooked, broken smile, and in this raspy voice he whispered, "You're too pretty to get away from me. I'm gonna do things to you." What he said after that, I won't repeat. No one needs to hear it. Some part of me snapped. I don't know if it was fear, adrenaline, or pure anger, but I hit him harder than I've ever hit anything in my life. The heel of my hand smashed straight into his nose. I felt it crack. His blood splattered across my arm. He screamed and let go. I ran. I tore through carriage after carriage, boots slamming against the floor, heart in my throat. I could hear him behind me, wheezing, stumbling, shouting, "Baby, don't run. Come back." His voice didn't even sound human. It was like something trying to imitate a person. I reached the driver's cabin and slammed on the door, screaming for help. I looked back through the little window and saw him running down the aisle, this jerky, broken movement like his bones weren't connected properly. I dropped to the floor and crawled between seats, shaking so violently I could barely breathe. Then, suddenly, the train lurched. We were stopping. I heard yelling, the cabin door flying open, metal scraping, something heavy slamming to the floor. The driver had stopped the train and tackled the man from behind, knocking him out with a fire extinguisher. He was on top of him, pinning him down while the man thrashed and growled beneath him like an animal. Police were there within minutes. I ended up in an ambulance, shaking uncontrollably while they cleaned the blood, his blood, off my hands and took pictures of the scratches he left on my wrist. And the worst part? He wasn't homeless. He wasn't mentally ill. He wasn't even drunk. He was just a man. A regular man who looked after himself so little that his own body was failing him. The police told me something that still gets under my skin. Unless this is part of a pattern, he might not stay in custody. Meaning, he might be out there again, on another train, sitting beside another woman who thinks she's just having a quiet ride home. I still take trains sometimes, but I never sit alone anymore. And I always keep my music low enough to hear footsteps. I grew up hearing about the old Hagen-Bequalis circus, not the Barnum and Bailey one, not Ringling Brothers, but the Indiana circus that used to travel through the state every year. But I didn't hear about the accident until much later. In 1918, their circus train collided with a troop train near a place called Ivanhoe, just between Hammond and Gary. People said it wasn't just a crash, it was an inferno. Animals, performers, workers, everything went up in flames. They buried more than half the victims in a mass grave they call Showman's Rest. Locals still say the crash replays itself on the tracks. I never believed that stuff, not really, but my cousin Nicholas, he swears he saw it happen. Back in 2017, he was living in Hammond, just a few miles from the site. He used to visit Michigan City a lot, so he passed that stretch of track often. One autumn night, he decided to sit near the old spot, just taking in the cool air. He said it was quiet at first, just the sound of wind in the grass. Then, he heard screams. Not modern screams, he said they sounded old, panicked, layered over each other in a way that didn't make sense. Right after that came the animal noises, roars, brays, the kind of sounds you'd only hear at a zoo or a circus. He turned around, expecting to see a train or at least headlights, but the tracks were empty. Then he heard metal grinding, this awful ripping noise that vibrated through the ground. And that's when he smelled smoke. He looked toward the rails and froze. A train, or something that looked like one, rolled slowly into view. But it wasn't solid. It looked wrapped in fog, lit from within by red, orange, and yellow light, almost like flames. He could see shapes moving behind it, but nothing made sense. And then, out of nowhere, another train appeared on the tracks. He said it didn't roll in from anywhere. It just formed there. The second it fully materialized, it collided with the flaming one. But instead of an explosion, both trains just vanished. And with them all the noise and the heat and the smell. He told his girlfriend about it. She didn't believe a word. But a few months later, she asked him to take her to the site at night, probably to prove him wrong. They stood there for maybe 20 minutes, nothing happening. She started joking that he was messing with her, and then the screeching started. Metal scraping metal, loud enough that she covered her ears. When they looked down the tracks, they saw a train, transparent, like smoke shaped into an engine, gliding toward them. The number 8485 was painted on the front. Engine 8485 was the real troop train that crashed in 1918. Before either of them could move, the ghost train jerked to a stop, like it hit something they couldn't see. And then the sounds began again, screams, shouts, the trumpeting of elephants. Nicholas said he saw the flames and smelled the smoke, but his girlfriend didn't. She only heard everything. That's when they ran, and they've both sworn never to go back. After hearing their story, I wanted to see the place for myself. Not because I wanted to witness anything, just curiosity, I guess. I'm not usually into ghost stuff, but something about that story stuck with me. So in 2023, I drove to Hammond and walked the stretch near the old Ivanhoe site. I didn't go at night. I just went in the late afternoon. The air was calm, nothing unusual. No sounds, no trains, no smells. But after about 5 minutes, something hit me. Not physically, emotionally. 1 second I was fine. Next, my chest felt heavy. This crushing sadness washed over me so strong I actually stopped walking. It didn't feel like my emotion. It felt like it was being pushed into me. Then came fear. This cold, empty fear made my hands shake. But I wasn't scared of anything. Nothing was even happening. It was like the place itself was grieving. I don't know how long I stood there, but I remember thinking, if I don't leave right now, I'm gonna break down crying. So I left, before any tears came. I still don't know what to make of it. Nicholas believes those trains are trapped, replaying the moment of the crash, stuck in a loop because the victims never got the chance to process what happened, humans and animals alike. It was sudden, brutal, and over in minutes. A century later, the land still remembers. And if you stand on those tracks long enough, feels like the pain remembers you back. I don't plan on returning. And if you ever go through Hammond, if you ever find yourself near those old rails at Ivanhoe, just know, if you hear a train coming when the tracks look empty, it might not be a train you can outrun.